If you do this step-by-step guide for just 5 minutes a day, you're gonna take your top of the backswing position from looking like this to looking like this. You do not want to miss this. Are you the golfer that when you look at your backswing, you see your right hip work away from the target? You get into this reverse pivot position, it kills your swing, you slice it, you top it, you don't hit it anywhere. Ultimately, you just play bad golf from this position. Well, I'm going to show you a step-by-step guide that I've used with over 1,000 students, and it's given them fantastic results. And here's the best thing. You can do it at home, and you don't need a golf ball to perform these step-by-step drills. Let's just run through why rotation is so important. Rotation is crucial for a number of different factors. The first one being, if we can get a good amount of turn, especially hip turn, we can stay nice and centered. A centered pivot is going to set us up perfectly for the downswing. The second thing is, if we can turn more, we can then generate more depth at the top of the backswing. This is going to allow us to swing more from the inside because our hands are deeper. The worst thing in the world that we see is players don't turn, their hands go pretty much straight up, and then from there, they are going to swing over the top. So by having great depth, we can swing more from the inside. And the third reason why rotation in the backswing is awesome is because it is going to give us a longer backswing to where we can keep our hands and arms in front of the body. Why is this important? Because this can allow us to generate more club head speed in the downswing. So without further ado, let's get into this step-by-step guide. All you need to do is have a golf club with you. You don't even need the ball. This is for the final part, but let's just start with a golf club. Now, grab the golf club and pop it across your shoulders. Just use your palms just to hold it into your chest. Now in this position, we're going to stand shoulder width apart like a normal, say 7-iron or 8-iron stance width, and we're just going to stand straight vertical in this position. Now, all I want you to do from here is just to start with, make a turn as if it's your backswing. So standing straight tall, we're just turning so our shoulders are staying level to the ground. Now, the first thing I just want to see is, can you get to 90 degrees in this position? Most people can. This is a very easy way of just seeing, do we have enough mobility and how far can we turn? You can see in this situation, I've got quite a bit of shoulder turn right there, and I am by no means a flexible person. If anything, I'm the opposite end of the spectrum. So just stand nice and tall for me, do a couple of turns as if it's your backswing. If you need to close your eyes as you do this to heighten your senses, by all means do this. But what I want you to do is just pay attention to how your right hip or your trail hip is working. What you will notice is, number one, it's moving very freely, and number two is that it's working back and around. So if I was to actually place a white line or just any sort of alignment stick on my right hip, you would notice that as I'm doing this, I'm actually creating a little bit of space right here. This is due to the shape of the pelvis. If I use an analogy, it's like an oval shape, like a rugby ball shape here in the UK. So if I just turn that right hip back and around, it's sort of working on an arc behind me. This is just stage one. Just learn what it feels like to rotate that right hip back and around. Now let's move into stage two. Stage two is grab the club, pop it on your shoulders, and now we're just going to get into our golf posture. From here, I just want you to focus on trying to move this right hip exactly the same way as we have done standing straight upright. So we're going to turn it back and around, and we're going to feel like we can create just a little bit of space. Now, as we do this, just make sure we keep a little bit of angle to the shoulders right here. So do this just a couple of times for me. Feel that right hip turn back and around as much as you can to start with. Now, as you've been doing this, you will probably see that my lower body has been very passive, and this is crucial for us. I see a lot of people really restrict the lower body, makes it extremely difficult to be productive in terms of creating a good turn. It's not a good thing for us. So if I just do this in this position, you can see as I'm turning, my left knee is staying very passive, and it's actually gaining a little bit of flex right here, and my right leg is losing flex. That's a great sensation for us to have. So keep the lower body very passive. Don't try and freeze the knees. Keep it very, very passive. So if I do that a couple times, I'm turning this right hip back and around, creating that space, learning what it feels like to have that nice big turn. So now it's time for stage three, and as we're going through these, we are progressively making everything a little bit harder. So stage three is normal golf swings. We're just focusing on the backswing. Again, no golf ball needed by this stage. So what I want you to do is set up in your position, your normal setup position, and again, all you're focusing on is trying to recreate these same sensations. That right hip wants to turn back and around. You're trying to create that imaginary golf ball worth of space by our right hip as we turn. So we are turning turning back and around. Again, I want you to go super slow as we're doing this. Close your eyes if you need to. Feel these knees. Stay nice and passive, right hip turning back and around. As I do this, you can start to see how easily it is for me to get a nice full turn. So I'm just going back and forth with this, making sure I can turn that right hip back and around. So now we are moving on to the final stage before we start to hit a golf ball. And this is our stage where we can check to make sure we are turning our hips enough. This is one of my favorite drills out there, and it's just the alignment stick drill. So all you need is 2 alignment sticks. One's gonna go at a 45-degree angle on the ground, the other one's gonna go through your belt loops. Now the great thing about this is gonna give us a visual cue as to whether we are turning our hips enough. So set up to the golf ball. We're only going to do some backswing rehearsals right now. And again, my aim is to make sure I can turn this right hip back and around so that I can at least get this alignment stick matching the one on the ground. If I can get it slightly past it, then that is amazing, because when we are doing our rehearsal swings, our body's a lot more relaxed. We can always over-exaggerate things more than when we're actually hitting a shot. So just do a couple of swings. If I'm turning that right hip back and around and getting into a good position, I'm going to visually see that this alignment stick is past the one on the ground. Now, if I'm moving laterally with this right hip and through the line, you're going to see that I cannot get this to turn past that line, because when we start to move laterally, it's going to be harder to turn. So we need to make sure that we can at least get this alignment stick past the one on the ground. So now we've made it to the final stage, which is where we can start to hit golf balls. This is where we can use the alignment sticks as a visual guide. Now, when we do this, just make sure you push the alignment stick all the way through. Reason being is otherwise it might get caught on the way down in the downswing. But again, this is going to be our visual guide as to whether we are getting a full hip turn, which is ultimately our goal of today's video. So we've gone through every dry drill, which is where we're not hitting a ball, we are rehearsing it. You can do all of those at home. If you have a net, you can obviously do this at home, but if not, you'll need to go to the driving range. So as I do this, I'm going to make a swing, and again, turning that right hip back and around, I'm going to peek out of my left eye and see if I'm getting past that alignment stick on the ground. If I am, great, it's about time I step up and hit a golf shot. So let me give this a go for you right now. If I can turn it past, I know I'm in a good position. So let's see if I can do that for you. So as you can see right there, I got past that alignment stick on the ground. I know I had a nice full hip turn. I had a nice draw as well, and hopefully you'll be doing the same. Now it's time for the hardest bit. Let's see if we can do this. Let's see if we can deliver without any training aids. Now, as you do this, I would still use some sort of feedback system, whether it be a mirror, a camera, a buddy, anyone just to help you with this. So what I'm going to do is do some rehearsal swings where I get that nice full hip turn, right hip turning back and around, trying to create that golf ball worth of space. Then from there, I'm going to step up. I might start with a little bit of a slower swing, maybe 50% speed, but if you're feeling confident, go for a full swing, and let's just see if we can deliver and hit that position where we get that nice full hip turn. Let me give it a go for you right now. If you have any questions about today's video, then please drop them down below. I love answering all the questions I get. And if you have video requests, again, drop them down below. I'm going to answer as many as possible. If you've enjoyed today's video, then please give it a like and subscribe, and I hope to see you back here soon.